And then we're going to extend the toe as we go into plantar flexion. And by doing that, we are going to create slack at the proximal attachment, and we're going to build tension at the distal attachment. So, and while we were resting, let's continue with our nerve gliding exercise demonstration. And right now, I'm going to be showing you a nerve gliding exercise to help release tension on the medial plantar nerve. If you recall, a few days ago, I showed you guys how to perform the prone medial plantar nerve tension test. And if that test was positive, this would be a terrific exercise to help release tension on the medial plantar nerve. We're going to be in a standing position, and with regard to the actual exercise, we could be propped up against a wall. We could be holding on to a chair. I've got the massage table already set up, so I'm just going to be performing it up against the massage table. But with regard to the actual exercise, we want the hip, knee, and ankle to start nice and relaxed. And then the first component to the test is we want to go ahead and we are going to go into ankle dorsiflexion. So we're going to point those toes up toward the sky for 3 to 5 repetitions. And then we want to go ahead and we're going to check in with ourselves, and we want to ask ourselves, are my symptoms getting better, worse, or are they staying the same? If we notice that our symptoms are either getting worse or staying the same, we would immediately stop with the exercise because there's no need to continue. We don't want to exacerbate our symptoms. However, if we notice that there's an immediate improvement in our symptoms, what we would do is just go ahead and perform 20 additional repetitions of ankle dorsiflexion. Let's say you do the ankle dorsiflexion, you haven't noticed any reproduction of your symptoms. What we would do is then from there, to build tension on the nerve, we are going to do extension of the great toe. The great toe being the big toe, you're going to point your toe up toward your head while maintaining that dorsiflexion. You're going to do 3 to 5 repetitions. I don't know if you could see from that angle, but you're pointing the toe up while maintaining the dorsiflexion. Actually, let me do it over here so you guys could see maybe a little bit better. So our ankle is in dorsiflexion, and then we're just pointing the toe up 3 to 5 repetitions. And once again, we're going to check in with ourselves, and we want to go ahead and ask ourselves, are my symptoms getting better, worse, or are they staying the same? If our symptoms are either getting worse or staying the same, we would immediately stop because we don't want to continue with the exercise and exacerbate our symptoms. However, if we notice an immediate improvement, we are going to maintain dorsiflexion and do 20 repetitions of great toe extension. That is if we want to work proximal to distal and just build tension throughout. There's another way that we could do this as well, and it's going to be a little bit more of a gliding motion, and that would be to build tension at one end while relieving tension at the other end. What I mean by that is at the proximal attachment, we would want to build maximum tension. At the distal attachment, have maximum slack. And then we would alternate. At the proximal attachment, we're going to get maximum slack. At the distal attachment, maximum tension. This one has 2 components to it. It has dorsiflexion and great toe extension. So if we wanted to do more of a gliding motion, the way that we would do it is we would go ahead and go into dorsiflexion with toe flexion, and then we would go into plantar flexion with toe extension. So we bring we're going to go into dorsiflexion and then curl the toe. When we do that, we're building tension at the proximal attachment, releasing tension and getting more slack at the distal attachment. And then we're going to extend the toe as we go into plantar flexion. And by doing that, we are going to create slack at the proximal attachment, and we're going to build tension at the distal attachment. So I'm going to see if I could get a little bit closer from this angle here. When we go into dorsiflexion, we curl the toes. When we go into plantar flexion, we bring those toes up toward the sky, and we would alternate. So imagine that my finger is my toe, my wrist is the ankle. So we go dorsiflexion and then toe flexion, and then we go plantar flexion, toe extension. And then we kind of do that motion over there, and that is how we can get a little bit more of a gliding motion by alternating between slack and tension at both ends. If you guys have any issues related to the medial plantar nerve, let's say you are experiencing pain or tingling in the medial arch or any type of tingling in the great toe, that is when we would perform this exercise. It's a great one. During the next rest period, I'm going to be showing you guys how to perform a nerve gliding exercise on the lateral plantar nerve. But for right now, our rest period is up. It is time for set number 9. That was just a tiny taste of what can be found in my members only section. If you enjoyed it, become a member for only $5 a month to get access to hundreds of member only videos.